My name is Leo. I'm the sales director of Zhong Mobvista. Today I'm so happy to be here to share something about the Chinese game market with you. And the topic of the day is how to promote games in China. The reason why I chose this topic is because Chinese game market is already be the top one game market in the world. But promoting games in China seems difficult for the foreigner game developers. So I hope today my presentation will help you to give you the big picture about the Chinese game market and help you to promote your game in China. So let's start. The first part, I want to show you something about the global game market. This is the forecast about the global game market from 2060 to 2020. We can see that by the year of 2020, the total game revenue will be $128.5 billion. And we can also see the tendency. The PC game, the browser game, and the console game will decrease year by year. And the mobile games on tablet is quite stable. And the smartphone game grows very fast. And for this slide is the detailed information about global game industry about this year. And in this year, there are more than 2 billion people playing games. And the total game revenue will be more than $100 billion. For the mobile part, there will be $46.1 billion, and it will be 42% of all the game revenue. This is the geo distribution about global game industry. And $51.2 billion comes from the APAC territories. It's about 47% of all the game industry. And for China market, for this year, the total game revenue will be $27.5 billion. And the number for US market is 25.1. So I made this list about the total revenue by countries. You can see from the picture, China, US, and Japan are on the top. So I call these three countries the big three countries. And the total revenue from the big three countries is $65.1 billion. It is 60% of the whole game revenue. So for the next part, the Chinese game market. In China, we have more than 700 million online users. And for the game players, the number is more than 500 million. And we also have almost 200 million paying users. And the game revenue for the last year, the total game revenue in China is $24.6 billion. For the mobile part, the game revenue is 11.2. And the ARPU in China is $122. This is the tendency about the Chinese game market from 2013 to 2020. We can see the game revenue increased very fast, and most of the growth comes from the mobile part. And in this year, 2017, the mobile revenue will be 14.6 billion, and it will be 53% of whole the game revenue. So I think this year might be the milestone for Chinese game market because it is the first time that the revenue from the mobile part is bigger than the revenue from the other parts. And by the year of 2020, the mobile revenue will be $21.3 billion. Let's see the biggest game market. This is all the online users in China. So by this year, the total internet users in China will be more than 750 million. So what does this number mean? This is the whole population of the Europe. And by this year, the penetration rate is more than 54%, which is 3.5% higher than the global average and 8% higher than the Asia average. Let's see about the mobile part. In China, for this year, the mobile users is more than 720 billion, so which means 96% of internet users are mobile users. And also, most of the internet users in China are from 10 to 40 years old. And also, the Chinese radio condition is very good. The 4G and Wi-Fi users totally account for more than 95% of internet users. So from the part 2, we know Chinese game market is a huge and potential market for all the game developers. But it's hard to promote the game in Chinese market. We always say Chinese game market is huge but difficult market. Let's see the reason. For this icon, we know them very well. We publish our games on Google Play. We show our ads on Facebook and Google and YouTube. But unfortunately, they're all banned in China. We cannot use their services. So here comes 2 challenges for us. The first one, how can we publish our games in China? The second one is how to do user acquisition. Normally, we publish our games on Google Play only. But in China, there are more than 300 Android app stores like Google Play. And on the list, almost 85% of coverage is from the top 5 Android app stores. And for Google Play, the coverage is only 4%. So that means even for Chinese game developers, they have to work with the local Android app stores. And for most of the Android app stores, they use the revenue share model. This is the Android landscape in China. For the developers, you need to create different APK files and send different APK files to different app stores. And the stores do both app listing and the promotion things. So what about iOS part? The iOS marketing flows is quite the same way it does out of China. So I think it's a good news for all the game developers, and it's also good news for Apple. So if you want to publish your games in China, my suggestion is to publish your game on iOS platform first, like Playrix, Supercell, Pixonic, and ZipLife. So the second challenge is the user acquisition part. Google and Facebook are the most famous channel we use to get users from. But in China, we cannot use them. So if you want to promote games on China, we need to use the local media resource. So for this part, I will introduce some very famous and very important Chinese local media resource to help you to understand this market and maybe help you to promote your games. First, let's see the total media ad spending in China. There are 5 kinds of media resource: the digital, the TV, video, magazine, and newspaper. We can see the spending on media resource grows very fast year by year. But the other four media resources, the spending decreased year by year. I think the result is reasonable because digital media resource is the only way that we can measure the result. We can measure the ROI. So in the next step, I will show you some very, very important Chinese media resource. The first one is Tencent. Tencent is the biggest social network in China, like Mail.ru in Russia and Facebook in the world. The totally MAU of Tencent social network is 800 billion users, which means you can cover almost all the internet users in China with Tencent social networks. If you want to run campaigns in China, Tencent social network will be the best choice. This is how your ads shows on Tencent social networks. The examples is on WeChat. When the users click the ads, it can jump to the App Store, or it can show a video ads to the users. This is another example on QZoom. QZoom is almost the same as WeChat, but the users are slightly different. And it also can support picture and video. The next one is Tencent Tui platform. Tencent Tui platform operates independently from Tencent social network. And they use the totally different traffic. The traffic of Tencent Tui is from Tencent news apps and Tencent video apps. You can run campaigns on both platforms with different kind of traffic. The next one is Baidu. Baidu is the biggest Chinese search engine, like Yandex in Russia and Google in the world. And we can put our ads on different Baidu products, like Baidu Browser, Baidu BBS, and the Mobile Baidu. The DAU of Mobile Baidu is more than 100 million. And for Web Baidu, the MAU is more than 600 million people. And the way of buying is RTB and CPC. For the next one is Weibo. Weibo is the Chinese version Twitter, but in my opinion, it's better than Twitter. And the DAU of Weibo is 132 million, and the MAU is almost 300 million. The important thing is 90% of Weibo's user is from the mobile part. And it can also support many kinds of ad form. You can also even contact the influencers on Weibo platform and ask them to promote your game on their Weibo page. The next one is Toutiao. Toutiao is the biggest news apps in China. The DAU is 78 million and the MAU is 1.75 billion. I want you to look at this number, the daily stay time per users. The daily stay time per users in Toutiao is 76 million. It's very huge. So that means the user spends more time on Toutiao than the other apps. This also means Toutiao can push more apps to the users. And Toutiao is also, and we can also target our audience on Toutiao system by using the different labels like gender, like age, and interesting like this. And the next one is video ads platform. It's like YouTube in the world. And actually, there are many video apps in China, but iQIYI and Youku are one of the biggest. It supports banner, picture, and video ads. Okay, for the last part is DSP and affiliate networks. This part is about us. Mobvista is the biggest AD network in China, and we are not only the top agency of the local medias I mentioned before, but also we connect almost all the DSP and affiliate in China. So our clients do not need to connect to them one by one. We can save them a lot of time and help them to manage the traffic. We also work with so many app developers and game developers. Our system also supports audience targeting. We can find your audience users by using different labels like Toutiao. So finally, we arrived to the last part, how to get users in China. I think this topic is too big to explain clearly in just 20 or 30 minutes. So here, I just give you some tips or advice. The first one, you need to understand your target audience. You need to know who they are, what they want, what their habits. So when you're using the Chinese local media to push your ads, you can push the right ads to the right people. That will get the highest ROI. And for the second part is localization. Localization will help you to get a user easier in China. You must translate everything, every item in your games. You need to translate the title, the description, the error message, everything. The other thing you need to pay attention to is the payment system. As we know, Google Play was banned in China. We cannot use the payment system of Google Play. So for Android part, you also need to work with the third-party payment partner like Alipay and WeChat Pay and credit cards. And the last part is the local partner. You need to work with the local radio resource because we cannot use Google, Facebook, all the familiar channels we use out of China. So work with local media resource and work with local agency because they know the market well, they know the audience well. It will save you a lot of time and money. So know your audience very well, do the localization part, and fix the payment issue, and find the local agency or work with the local media resource. I wish everyone will win in China. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leon.